Miranda, we're ready to go. All right, well, good afternoon. Welcome to Innovate BC. So we're here almost every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I'm joining from Amiskwaciwa, Treaty 6 Territory, Edmonton. My name is Michelle. I'm honored to welcome you. I'm honored to introduce our next guest speaker. I'm super excited. She's sitting there in her virtual TP, Miranda. It's awesome, awesome, awesome. So before we get started, I always love to give thanks to Creator. This is why we are here, because of Creator's goodness. We all carry a passion, a fire, a vision, a dream for ourselves and our communities and, the organizations that we're part of. And so when we have these webinars, it's really, really a good opportunity, A, to take in this knowledge, and to B, to build on our own capacity. So we give thanks to Creator for moments like this that we can gather, we can learn, we can stir that fire within us, we can grow and we can evolve. So we give thanks to Creator for the gift of this moment, the gift of another day to learn, to be in virtual community with each other anyways. So hi, Creator, for all of the goodness and all the gifts that you have given to us. So the sun here, as you can see, I don't know if you can tell, the sun is bright today. I always feel good when that sun, that vitamin B is vitamin D. I don't know where I got vitamin B, but the vitamin D is out there for us. So I feel good today, and I hope wherever you are, wherever you're joining from, feel free to use the chat box and let us know where you're joining from. I hope you're feeling good as well. So today's workshop is the project management workshop with Miranda Kennedy. So in the past few decades, organizations have discovered something incredible. Principles that have been used to create enormous successes in large projects that can be applied to projects of any size to create amazing success. So as a result, many employees are expected to understand project management techniques and how to apply them to projects of any size. So this workshop will give an overview of a project management process, as well as key project management tools that you can use every day. So we're building capacity here, not just in our own professional lives, but hopefully in our personal lives as well. So the objectives today is you will define project management, and project manager, describe the triple constraints. I'm curious to hear what that's all about. Perform a project needs assessment and write goals, requirements, and deliverables. Build a project schedule by estimating time, costs, and resources. Monitor and maintain the project. So she is covering a lot of ground. So our guest speaker, Miranda Kennedy, she's a member of the Little Pine First Nation in Saskatchewan. We love Saskatchewan here. Her Cree name is Asani Apiu. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to say it. I'm going to just leave that up to you. I feel like I should know this, but in English, it means a woman who sits with the rocks. Beautiful. She attended the University of Saskatchewan and holds a Bachelor of Commerce degree in human resource management. She has over 20 years of combined experience in social work, human resources, and project management. Her upbeat attitude, great communication skills, and extensive backgrounds in handling complex issues make her a valuable resource for First Nations communities. And I believe I got to listen to her speak a couple of times, and she's awesome. So I'm so excited to introduce our guest speaker. She's going to let us know her Cree name in Cree, because I don't want to. I will butcher it. I promise that. And it's a beautiful name. So we are honored that you are taking time out of your busy schedule to bring in your knowledge and what you know. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. So ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Miranda Kennedy. The floor is yours.
Hello. Thank you, Michelle. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm actually want to say hello from Cancun, Mexico. That's where I am currently. You see my hat? So yeah, that's where I am enjoying the sun. And I wanted to do this for Can Do. And we only have an hour. But I will tell you my Cree name, how to pronounce it. It's Asni Abiusko. That's how you say it in Cree. So I want to welcome you guys to my workshop. We'll get started. Michelle did cover some of the objectives that I'm going to cover today. So let's just get started. So key concepts. Before we get started, let's make sure we all understand just what we mean by a project management, and what a project manager's role is. So I serve as VP for HR for Okamau Community and HR Solutions. So a lot of our work is consulting work. We do a lot of projects, big or small. So sometimes you need key people to come in and help you with bigger projects. So a lot of times we're doing projects individually based on our skill set and knowledge. But when it comes to complex projects, we have to do it as a team, and we use people within that team that have specific skills in different areas. Okay, so that's how we do our project management. So first of all, what is a project? A project is a limited endeavor, meaning it has specific start and finish dates that is undertaken to meet particular goals and objectives. So when you're meeting with clients, whether they're First Nations or non-First Nations, and they ask you to do a project, you need to talk it out and figure out what are the terms, what are the deadlines, what are the goals and objectives that you need to meet before you get started. So projects are different than processes or everyday operations, which are repetitive, permanent, or semi-permanent functional work taken on to produce products or services. So project management is different from day-to-day work that you would do, right? So all successful projects have the following characteristics. So you have clear goals, defined ownership or who's responsible for what. There's timelines. There's a dedicated team involved. Defined methodology. How are you going to get this work done? There's controlled systems or execution. How you're going to meet the deadlines and get the project done. So these are things you talk about similar to construction. When you're making a house, right? There's deadlines, who's doing what, right? Same thing. Completion evaluated based on original plan. So you talk over, are you going to meet your deadline? Do you need another extension? These things kind of come about as you're doing a project. And then you link everything to your business objectives. So you always have to make sure that you're on task and supported by an organization's management team. So sometimes you're working with a nation or an organization, they have a project manager or a project lead, right? So you work together with them to meet your project deadlines, make sure that what they're asking you to do is being fulfilled, right? So you may be doing that on a weekly basis. It depends what you negotiated. But when we do projects, we usually meet with project leads every week, right? Just to make sure everything's on task. Okay, so what is project management? Project management is the combined art and science of planning, organizing, and managing resources to get a particular project done on time, within budget, and with the results that the organization set out to achieve. So if you look at my diagram there, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of organizing and managing resources, and that could be different types of resources, and you have to be within budget. And you kind of estimate those things beforehand, and that's just how it goes when you're doing project management. There are many types of project management designed for different scenarios and different industries, right? So you can be an expert in this industry or that industry, right? So our expertise at Okamau would be projects that are HR related, funding related, doing organization reviews, policy develop. There's different types of projects that we are skilled at, and maybe not in gaming or other industries. Okay, so if you're going to be hired as a for a project, you have to make sure you have the expertise to be able to manage that project or have a team to help you. Okay, so what is a project manager? A project manager is the person responsible and accountable for accomplishing the stated project objectives. Key project management responsibilities include creating clear and attainable project objectives, building the project requirements, and managing the principal constraints for projects. The project manager is often required to perform a juggling act, right? So whoever your project lead is has to be able to communicate clearly, have to, have set dates when they can meet, go over objectives, whether we're meeting them, not meeting them, or maybe there's changes. These things have to be communicated. So a project lead has to be, really good and responsible at, working with people who are actually doing the project and understand what the project entails and how it has to be completed. So there's a balancing act, what the customer wants and needs with what the team can provide in a particular time frame and with a particular budget, right? So a lot of times we're asking, okay, what's your budget, and things like that, right? A successful project manager has a wide range of skills and continues to learn what is needed, right? Key skills include, so a project manager would have leadership skills, negotiation skills, influence and persuasion is part of your persona, project management, of course, communication, big time, right? Time management. Sometimes you're doing a project and we need to get a hold of a project lead, and if we can't connect with them, then we don't know if we're on the right track. So it's important that you connect with your project lead so they know where you're at with things and that you're in the right direction, or maybe you need to communicate that this is going to take more money, or maybe where things are going within budget and we're on time, and is there anything more that you need? Those types of things have to be communicated. And then, of course, stress and anger management would be part of your skill set if you were a project lead, right? Because some projects could be stressful, or some projects could upset you. So these things you have to, be able to tolerate stress and your anger, right? Especially in, like, you hear people in oil rigs, right? It's hard to work in those environments. A lot of people are, the communication there is, not what you expect it to be, right? So these projects cost a lot of money, it's time, it's a lot of manpower, there's a lot of things involved in completing these projects, right? So stress and anger management is something that you have to be really good at when you're leading a team. Okay, so let's look at the triple constraint. The triple constraint is the balance of the project scope, time and budget, right? During the planning phase of the project management team defines the project scope, the schedule and budget of a project. As the process continues, the project managers discover that there may be changes or adjustments to be made in one of these areas. When this happens, the other factors of the triple constraint are likely to be affected as well. For example, if the budget, so the cost increases, it is logical to assume that the scope and schedule or time will increase as well. The same thing happens if the budget or the cost decreases. The scope and schedule time will also decrease, right? So that's the triple constraint that you have to keep in mind when you're doing project management, right? So the first phase of project management is initiation. This is where the project starts to take shape. Stakeholders and team members work together to identify wants and needs, and then the project team creates a plan to accomplish the objectives with the time and budget available. Same thing as an event, right? When you're planning a golf tournament or any big event, it requires you to be really good at leading this project if you're the one organizing, right? Same thing, it's a lot of things you have to consider when you're doing these projects. Identifying your stakeholders. A stakeholder is someone who has an interest in the development and or outcome in the project. This person is usually only involved at key projects, project gateways such as project initiation and evaluation. Their main role is to provide feedback and guidance. When you are identifying stakeholders, think outside the box. Ask other members of the team and the organization, who else should be involved in this? Who might be affected, right? So these are some of the things you have to consider when you are completing a project or a project management. So assessing the needs and wants. When the stakeholders and other project managers or members begin identifying the goals of the project, encourage them to list any and all possibilities. If the sky is the limit, what would they want the project to accomplish? Then they should decide which items are necessary for the project's success, like such as needs, which are nice to have, like your wants. If the list is lengthy, wants and needs can be prioritized to help the project team identify the most important tasks. Remember, this is not a final list, just brainstorming to kick things off, right? So it's similar to we've done projects where we had to do community planning or assessments, right? So a lot of it is brainstorming, asking people what their wants and needs are to do a community plan. That's a project. It's a big one too. Okay, so let's go down here to the next slide. So setting SMART goals. SMART goals are specific, measurable, agreed upon, relevant, and time, right? Each project should have a goal statement. SMART is a convenient acronym for the set of criteria that a goal must have in order for it to be realized by the goal achiever. So when we say specific, in order for the project team to achieve a goal, stakeholders must be very clear about what they want, right? Vague goals produce vague results. Measurable. It's crucial that you are able to track your progress towards your goal. That's why all goals need some form of objective measuring system so that you can stay on track and become motivated when you enjoy the sweet taste of quantifiable progress. Agreed upon. All team members and stakeholders must agree on the goal. relevant. The goal must be relevant to the business purpose, right? Timed. In order for a project to be considered a project, it must have a specific start and end date. Okay, now let's look at creating requirements and deliverables. What a project must do in order for it to be considered successful, and define what people can expect to hold in their hands after the project is completed, right? So for example, let's say one goal for your project is to do this, to reduce the time to process inbound orders to 15 minutes by January 1st, right, 2023. That could be an example. As part of this, you should then be able to create your deliverables. These define what people can expect to hold in their hands after the project is complete. These deliverables will help you set clear expectations at the beginning of your project and maintain a clear idea of what you are doing as you execute the project, right? So there's some creating some requirements, and deliverables are part of the project. So you got to outline those, right? So next, planning. When building your plan, remember, everything in the plan is a prediction. So you don't always know, when you start and end, if the deadline, if you're meeting your deadline, right? So you're predicting what it's going to cost, how long it's going to take, right? A lot of people who bid on projects, that's what they do, right? They have a prediction of what this project is going to cost based on what they know, the market value and things like that, right? The only fact that you know for certain is that your plan is definitely not 100% right? It's not going to be accurate all the time. Contingency needs to be built into scope to cope with the uncertainty, right? So there's things like that when you're a project lead or a project manager, when you're working together to complete a project, these are things that it's not going to be exactly, but you have an idea of what it entails to get the project done, right? So next, managing expectations. Each stakeholder and each project team member will have different expectations. As the project manager, you need to manage all of them. Unmanaged expectations will cause conflict and cause the project to fail. Key checkpoints should include, does everyone involved have the same understanding of the project? If not, then you need to clarify that. Clarify responsibilities as assigned. Clarify the outcomes and the time frame. Clarify the requirements and budgets. Understand the budget and schedule, right? How they linked together, right? Communicate to everyone is relevant. So a lot of it is communication. So if someone doesn't understand something or why this happened and that happened, these are things that have to be communicated and not, remember, not everything goes 100%, right? But always communicating with one another. So creating a task list. To begin the planning process, you must first make a list of all the tasks that are going to be done. Let's say you are going to paint a room, right? So that maybe you're hiring a painter and you want to know, well, how much is it going to cost to paint this room? Well, how big is this room? What color do you want? There's all these things you have to talk about to paint a room. It's not just saying, well, can you come and paint this room, right? There's a lot of detail. There's a lot of things you got to talk about beforehand. So tasks might include getting paint samples for them, choosing the paint color, removing all the furniture, bringing in, maybe you have to take off the trim, paint the trim, apply the first coat, apply the second coat, put trim back on, put all furniture back in place, right? These are things that will happen, uh, you know, just when you paint a room. It's not just come in and paint a room. You gotta actually talk these things out. What exactly does this person have to do to complete the project? So estimating the time when building your schedule, never guess times, gather the most reliable information possible, and use a scientific formula if you have, right? Some of them, they have these terrific tools they use to be able to do this, right? And give out estimates, right?
Miranda,
First, make it.
Miranda,
So
can you hear me?
I don't sell program that you can use. Hi, yes.
Okay, you were just cutting in and out a little bit, so we missed a bit of your talking. So the connection must not be that great. So Elsie, can you tell? Okay, looks like she's just getting things set up again.
Okay,
Miranda,
sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but here I am talking.
okay, and yeah, it is
Good.
a little echoey, and it is
Okay.
there's a little bit of pausing.
Noise.
Okay,
Okay.
try
All
again.
right. All right, estimating resources. So now that the task list is complete, it's time to decide what resources will be used to accomplish the task. In project management, resources means people, materials, and money. A common method of resource listing is to list the task, estimated time, and resources required in the same table, right? So these are things that you need to consider when you're needing to complete a project. So how many people, who, you know, the material costs, all these things you have to estimate when you're doing a project. Okay, let's go down. Okay, building the work breakdown structure. So if you're, you know, needing to do assigned tasks, this is how the table may look. A work breakdown structure is a graphical breakdown of all the work to be done in the project. So for us, we use teams, right? So when we're assigning tasks to certain people on our team, we use teams, and we go in our system, and you may use a different one, and you would go and assign certain people on your team tasks that need to be completed, right? So your graphics may look like this, right? Task 1, task 2, and then it's broken down like this, right? So there's a series of steps that may need to be completed when you're assigning projects. So creating a schedule, the next task is to build a schedule. This will be your most important document during the project. It will grow and change throughout the project. Keep it up to date and make sure that you all meet your deadlines. There are many scheduling tools available. For now, let's look at a simple table format, right? So in our group, we do a lot of project management, and we use like charts, but I'll explain that in the next slide. So creating a communication plan, effective communication can make the difference between success and failure in any kind of project. Developing and maintaining a good communication plan will ensure that everyone involved in the project stays up to date and that the information is shared appropriately. So a basic template like this should include what, who, where, when, why, and how for each communication item. So you can create it this way. So what, who, where, when, why, how. So you can create a communication plan similar to this. So the other method is using a RACI chart. So you have two, one for finance, one for HR. So the RACI chart is another tool that you can use in project management. It's an excellent way to outline who is responsible for what during the project. To start, create a chart with tasks listed on the left-hand side and resources listed across the top. Now put the appropriate letter in each cell. R, responsible for execution, that's what it stands for. A, who's the approver, and C, who is the consult. And I, keep informed, right? So if you look at this chart, RACI, what they stand for, and in your chart may go straight across, it might go up and down, it might go circular. RACI charts are used, it's kind of a series of steps on how we do HR, right? Or how we do finance, right? What are the steps, right? So we outline those in the RACI chart, how the flow, right? So executing the project, we spent a lot of time talking about the project, what it will do and how to make plans on how to do it. Now we have to put the plans in action, right? So executing your plan. Establish baselines, formal end of the planning phase, your original plan, your measuring stick, communicating to all the stakeholders. There's exactly one final task to complete before we can start to work on a project. So these are all things you have to do before you actually begin your project. Establish the baseline, indicates the formal end of planning, the planning phase, and the beginning of project execution and control. The baseline is your original plan containing the original scope, cost, and time.
Les gustó la comida.
Sorry.
I get the food. Yes.
Miranda, I'm just wondering if by chance you have earphones, because we do hear the backgrounds. And of course, we just heard that gentleman, which is lovely, but it's sometimes hard not to, it can be a little just distracting. Oh, you're on mute.
Llama la iglesia,
Okay,
the church.
so
Y 2
and then
kilómetros más
monitoring
adelante
project
está la pirámide que se
progress. Oh, you can't hear
llama
that, can you? Yeah, I think the bus is leaving now. Sorry. Can you hear that?
In the forest, in the jungle.
Oh my, okay.
Bueno, pues este
Would
es
you
el
want,
rey
do you want me to
Juan,
email
es
this
como aquí,
presentation to you?